I just want to say before anything else that the video you're about to watch is not specifically about Austin Meadows or Daniel Bard. They're both on the IL of respective Major League Baseball teams dealing with anxiety. But right now, they're more of just the vehicle to get to the conversation that I really think needs to take place. Let's begin with a statement that came out this past weekend from the Detroit Tigers and their team president, Scott Harris. Quote, "The Tigers fully support Austin's decision to step away from the team and prioritize his mental health. As an organization, we have taken many steps to provide and destigmatize mental health resources, and we will do more to help our players tackle the mental and physical challenges they face on a daily basis. We commend Austin for confronting these challenges head-on and ask our fans to join us in supporting him through every step of his journey back to the field." End quote. So, in case you missed it, currently, right now, Austin Meadows is on the 10-day IL injured list for the Detroit Tigers. 27 years old. He's got 6 Major League Baseball seasons under his belt now, 417 Major League games. He's on a 1-year contract. He's been there, done that to a certain degree. He's not at the end of his career, definitely not at the very beginning of his career. He's already played 6 games this season, hitting .238. But again, anxiety is what's putting him on the 10-day IL. We'll go a little bit deeper here. This is something he's dealt with before. This was actually an interview at the beginning of last season where he was talking about prior episodes of anxiety. Quote, "From a mental health perspective, I've been dealing with some stuff a few years before the trade happened, just some anxiety and stuff like that. It got out of control during last offseason, 2021, and then the trade happened to Detroit, and everything snowballed from there." End quote. Now, just to revisit last season, 2022, his year actually ended June 15th. He had an Achilles injury. He also had a bout with vertigo. And by September, there was some question whether he was ready to be back. And physically, he might have been. However, he decided to sit out the rest of last season, basically the final month, to help himself focus on mental health. So that's kind of the backstory and where Austin Meadows has been. Okay, and then there's Daniel Bard. And I'm spelling each of these stories out just to kind of bring you up to speed on where we're at before we really have the deeper conversation. Daniel Bard of the Rockies, he led their team last year with 34 saves. He's 37 years old. He's had an interesting career. He left baseball with the Red Sox back in 2013, flat out retired, and then returned to Major League Baseball in 2020. And right now, he is on the 15-day IL, also dealing with anxiety. So not just Meadows, but Bard in a similar fashion. He had this quote, "It's a hard thing to admit, but I've been through this before. I have enough going on outside the game to realize what's important. I'm extremely grateful to be in an organization that understands these things and is accepting." End quote. Okay. Let's get to kind of the important part of this video, which are my takeaways. And again, I felt all that necessary to bring you up to speed, because I know you're hearing this right now and thinking, well, this is not really precedent. There's not been a situation like this before. And certain players have gone to the IL or missed a period of time. Quite often, it was not exactly defined why they were missing time. Sometimes it was spelled out due to anxiety or mental health reasons. But here are my takeaways. I came across this, which is pretty much the storyteller right here. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, 26.2% of Americans 18 or older suffer from a diagnosable mental health disorder in any given year. I want you to soak that in. About a quarter of adults, just like you and I here in the United States, deal with a mental health disorder that is so severe that it's diagnosable every given year. Okay, every given year, 1 out of 4 of us have this issue. However, between 1972 and 1991, precisely 0 Major League Baseball players were ever placed on the DL or the IL for mental health reasons. Yeah, this has kind of been a barrier, and to think that human beings, let alone baseball players, to think that they have not been dealing with mental issues or things of this nature that lead to physical issues, that lead to more complicated problems. To think that none of this has ever existed till now is crazy. It's always existed. And I'm so thankful that here and now in 2023 that we're actually willing to admit this and accept this and realize this and understand this, and also help guard against this, help cure this, help fight against this as best we can instead of ignoring this. So here are my biggest takeaways. I guess I've got 5 of them up on the screen. I'll kind of go one by one. All of this for Bard and Meadows is a complete negative. I do not wish anybody struggle to this degree. That's crazy, right? I wish for them that none of this was happening like it is. But I'm so grateful that things have been handled like they have been, right? The positive out of this negative is the way that teams and the league and most people who are watching this video and most people who are understanding, I think that's a huge positive that we can now finally grasp a situation like this for what it actually is. I also want to say as my second point here that if you're somebody who's still not buying in, well, let me lead you down the road here. You're okay with physical ailments, right? You're okay with the player and their injured ankle or wrist or fingernail for a pitcher, or the blister on their throwing hand, or their back, or their knee, or their elbow, or they got hit by a pitch. You're okay with all the physical stuff, right? But some people out there are not okay with the mental side. Well, if the mental side is that intense and that debilitating, the mental side is definitely translating to the physical side of a player who can't sleep at night, who can't get proper rest, who can't control their mind, who can't control their body, who's probably not eating properly, eating well, losing weight. Essentially, like, we should be addressing this even as the mental only aspect. But even if you're somebody who is not willing to see that far yet, then it is a physical issue. The mental side also plays right into the physical side for a lot of these athletes eventually. So please do understand that. I also think that, we're generation by generation, and maybe there is still a stigma for a lot of players to come out and admit this. And I'm happy that here are 2 who were not, or unfortunately, it just got so bad they had no other option, but they did the right thing. They went to the right people. They told them exactly what's going on, and now they're in a better place. Don't lie about it. Don't fabricate it. Go right at it for what it is. I'll talk more about the normalization of this in just a second, but what's the alternative? Again, I'm going to try and see the other side of this for a second. If you're somebody who doesn't believe that this is a real thing and that these players, like, they should actually deserve and get this time away and get the help that they need, what's the alternative? So you root for players, you root for a team, and you want people who are mentally struggling out there on the field and not performing, and this is the entertainment. This is entertainment to you? You want to keep forcing them in there? Is that what you want? Or do you want them to not talk about it and not complain, and the problem only gets worse, and then what happens? Eventually, something even worse happens to them. There is no good alternative to this other than what we've seen here. Come forward with it, be public with it, get the help you need. And I don't even know if we saw some quotes from Meadows and Bard there. I'm okay if they don't even want to talk about it. I'm going to respect that privacy too. I don't need every single detail just to know that they're going through something. We'll leave it at that. And the last point is that these situations have to be normalized. Now, look, I do not hope for a player on every single team going through this every single year, but to say that some aren't close to it, I think is also crazy. You've got hundreds of young men playing a very difficult game, dealing with a lot of success and struggle, and that's just at the major league level. Go down the ranks of AAA, AA, single A, low A, independent leagues. Like, this is a big deal that has not been addressed for so long. Again, if it can happen to somebody at the highest levels who, is getting compensated. It doesn't matter your paycheck. You're still human. You have feelings. You want to do well. You have external stresses that we don't even know about. That's another aspect here, haven't even discussed. Who knows if baseball's even the reason for any of these feelings and any of these symptoms. But all of this just has to be normalized without ramifications. You have to feel okay that you can share this, you can get treatment for this, and know that nobody's going to hold it against you for the rest of your career, for the rest of the season, right? I mean, we literally don't hold an injured knee against somebody. We just understand, well, they banged it into the wall a couple games ago. They had to miss a few games after that, but they're back now, and maybe they're not at 100%, but we'll take them for what they're worth. Okay, well, that's a physical injury. How about a person who's gone through a mental injury, basically? We've got to be okay with that too, in the same way we are from the physical side. So I just want to wrap this video up. I know it's a little bit off topic from the things I normally discuss here on the channel, but super important. Again, I'm not happy or thrilled at all to see anybody go through this, but it does kind of bring some good feelings about the way this is all being handled and addressed, and maybe it's protocol moving forward. Thumbs up on this video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.